I sit at the very edge of my parents' meticulously polished oak dining table, the smooth, cool wood offering little comfort beneath my trembling hands. Consciously, I smooth the almost imperceptible wrinkles from the skirt of my simple black dress. The fabric, a weighty, dignified crepe, had cost more than I truly should have spent, a quiet extravagance I justified by the sheer necessity of the moment. Tonight, I desperately needed the silent armor of dignity, a shield against the familiar sting of invisibility. Around me, the air shimmers with unspoken expectations. Crystal glasses, fragile and gleaming, catch and splinter the light cast from the elaborate chandelier hanging overhead, scattering 1,000 tiny rainbows across the crisp white tablecloth. My father, with a flourish, fills them with a ruby red wine that almost certainly cost what I budget for an entire week's worth of groceries. His eyes, bright with paternal pride, seek out my sister, Sam, as he raises his glass in a grand gesture. To Sam's incredible win, he proclaims, his voice booming with unrestrained joy. Sam, his youngest daughter, stands as a testament to their ambition, the youngest attorney in the firm's storied history to secure a victory in a case of such immense magnitude. My mother, her face radiant, reaches across the expanse of the table, her manicured fingers gently squeezing Sam's hand. "We always knew you were destined for greatness, darling," she murmurs, her voice thick with affection, a sentiment never once directed at me in quite the same way. Sam, basking in the concentrated glow of their unwavering attention, radiates a soft luminescence. Her perfectly highlighted hair, styled with effortless precision, falls just so as she modestly lowers her eyes. "Oh, it was just good preparation, really," she deflects with a practiced humility, "and, well, a little natural talent, I suppose." Mom quickly interjects, a hint of admonishment in her tone. "Don't you dare downplay your gifts, Samantha. They are extraordinary." I take a small, almost imperceptible sip of my water, the cool liquid a momentary anchor. I gather every shred of my waning courage, forcing a smile. "The article I read about the case mentioned how you connected with the jury," I begin, my voice a little too quiet in the expansive room. "That emotional intelligence is so valuable in—" "Did you tell them about the judge's comments?" Dad interrupts, his gaze not even bothering to flick in my direction. The question is directed solely at Sam, completely bypassing my attempt at connection. "Samantha, tell them what he said afterward." My carefully chosen words evaporate like morning dew, leaving an arid emptiness in my throat. I've been here a dozen times before, trapped within this familiar, stifling ritual where Sam effortlessly shines, bathed in the warmth of their approval, while I am left to fade into the intricate patterns of the wallpaper. I force myself to focus on my breathing, the steady rhythm a small comfort, then on the surprising weight of the sterling silver fork in my hand, anything to ground myself as the vibrant conversation, once again, flows effortlessly around and past me. "Kylie, pass the potatoes, darling," Mom says, her voice snapping me back to the present. It's the first time she's addressed me directly in what feels like an eternity, at least 20 long minutes. I comply, pushing the heavy serving dish across the table, my fingers brushing against the cool silver. Then, summoning a fresh surge of resolve, I venture another attempt, my voice a little stronger this time. "My department is implementing a new compliance system that I helped design. It's quite innovative, actually. Did I mention Sam's firm is considering her for a junior partner?" Mom cuts in, her voice now soaring with unadulterated pride, completely obliterating my nascent contribution. At 32, can you imagine the accomplishment? My throat tightens, a sudden, constricting band. I am 29, merely 3 years younger than my brilliant, celebrated sister, yet in their eyes, I always seem to be decades behind, perpetually playing catch-up. Mom turns to me suddenly, her gaze piercing, with that look, the one that invariably precedes her unsolicited and, more often than not, unhelpful suggestions about my life's trajectory. "You know, if you'd finished that MBA instead of just settling for your bachelor's degree, you might be further along by now," she pronounces, her tone laced with a thinly veiled disappointment. The MBA. The very one I had postponed indefinitely when they had called, sobbing, about the dreaded foreclosure notice. The advanced degree that is still languishing in a forgotten someday file on my laptop, while my meticulously saved account empties, slowly but inexorably, month after disheartening month. I'm doing fine, I managed to articulate, the words feeling inadequate and brittle even to my own ears. Mom sighs, a sound heavy with resignation, and exchanges a loaded glance with Dad across the table. Fine isn't exceptional, though, is it, Kylie? She sets down her fork with an almost surgical precision, her gaze fixed on me. Honestly, Kylie, you're not even half the woman your sister is. The dining room goes utterly, shockingly silent. The crystal glasses cease their shimmering, the gentle clinking of silverware falls still. Even the antique grandfather clock on the mantel, a cherished family heirloom, seems to pause its steady ticking, holding its breath with the rest of us. My hand trembles visibly around my water glass, sending ripples across the surface of the clear liquid. I can hear the frantic thud of my own heartbeat pounding in my ears, feel a fiery heat crawling, agonizingly slowly, up my neck and across my cheeks. The words slam into me with the force of a physical blow, stealing the air from my lungs, leaving me breathless and reeling. The clock, after a timeless moment, resumes its steady, insistent rhythm. Tick, tick, tick. In that profound moment of crushing silence, something deep inside me shifts irrevocably. For long years of unquestioning silence. For years of quiet, unacknowledged sacrifice. For years of feeling utterly, completely invisible. Then let her pay the mortgage for this house, I say quietly, my voice surprisingly steady, yet imbued with an unfamiliar steel. The words hang in the air, heavy and palpable, like a plume of smoke from a barely extinguished fire. Dad's fork clatters against his plate, a jarring sound in the sudden stillness. Mortgage? What mortgage are you talking about, Kylie? He blusters, his confident facade already cracking, revealing a glimmer of raw panic beneath. Sam's champagne glass freezes halfway to her lips, her perfectly composed expression suddenly uncertain, a flicker of confusion clouding her eyes. Mom's face drains of color so rapidly, so completely, that for a terrifying moment, I worry she might actually faint. Kylie, darling, this is hardly dinner conversation, Mom chimes in, her voice strained, attempting to regain control. Who wants dessert? I made your favorite apple crisp, you know? No, I state, the single word ringing with an unexpected strength that surprises even myself. I delve into my purse, my fingers trembling slightly as I retrieve my phone and open my banking app. What exactly are you talking about, Kylie? Dad blusters again, his voice now tinged with desperation. We refinanced years ago, everything is fine. I scroll deliberately through my transaction history, my thumb gliding over the screen until I find the very first payment from 4 years ago. I turn the screen toward them, forcing them to see the undeniable evidence. February 15, 2021. $2,500 to prevent foreclosure. Just this once, you said, Mom. Mom stands abruptly, pushing her chair back with a scrape that echoes in the silence. This is utterly ridiculous. I'm getting dessert, whether anyone wants it or not. March, April, May, I continue, my voice unwavering, scrolling through the damning evidence, each month a fresh wound. Every single month for 4 years, between $1,200 and $2,400, depending on what crisis came up that month. Kylie, Dad's face hardens, a mask of anger replacing his panic. We've had some temporary setbacks in the business, sweetheart. You know that, we told you. Temporary? 4 years of constant payments isn't temporary, Dad. I turn my gaze directly to Sam, whose initial confusion is now rapidly morphing into genuine horror, her eyes wide with disbelief. Did you know, Sam? Did you know that while you were buying your beautiful condo and raking in promotions, I was quietly keeping our parents from losing their house? Sam slowly shakes her head, her voice barely a whisper. They told me they were helping you financially, Kylie. That you were struggling with your rent and bills. A bitter, incredulous laugh escapes me, raw and unbidden. Is that what they told you, Sam? A daughter supports her family, Mom says tearfully, reappearing in the doorway, dessertless, her voice thick with self-pity. That's how we raised you, Kylie. Family comes first, always. Family comes first, I repeat hollowly, the words tasting like ash in my mouth. But I'm not really family, am I? Not in the way Sam is. I'm the ATM. I'm the backup plan. I'm the convenient safety net you never once acknowledge, never once mentioned to anyone. The crushing weight of the realization washes over me with startling, devastating clarity. All those years of desperately trying to measure up, of meekly accepting less, of purposefully making myself smaller to fit into the confining box they had so meticulously built for me, and for what? So they could quietly drain me dry, month after month, year after year, all while showering my sister with lavish praise for achievements that, in large part, my secret sacrifice had helped make possible. Sam sets down her champagne glass with exquisite care, her gaze fixed on me, a deep understanding finally dawning in her eyes. How much, Kylie? The total amount you've paid. I meet her eyes directly, holding her gaze. $84,000, I state, the number hanging in the air, a stark monument to my years of invisible burden. Dad chokes dramatically on his wine, sputtering. That's preposterous, Kylie. Absolutely ridiculous. But his protest, loud as it is, lacks any real conviction. He knows. They all know now. The truth has finally been dragged into the light. My down payment for a home, I say, my voice now steadier than I feel, laced with a quiet, undeniable grief. My MBA. My entire future, slowly siphoned away. The dining room falls silent once again, but this time the silence feels profoundly different. It is heavy, yes, but heavy with the weight of unvarnished truth, with secrets finally exposed to the cleansing oxygen for the very first time. And somewhere, deep beneath the churning anger and the aching hurt, I feel something else unfurling within me, fragile yet potent, the undeniable, exhilarating sensation of freedom. Back at my quiet apartment that night, sleep was an impossible dream. Instead, memories flashed back with the blinding intensity of a lightning storm. The phone had rung at precisely 11:37 on a Tuesday night. I had nearly ignored it, already half asleep, nestled beneath my well-worn IKEA comforter in my rented one-bedroom, the glow of the city filtering weakly through the blinds. But something an inexplicable intuition, perhaps, or a prickling premonition of anxiety made me reach for it. Kylie, Mom's voice had broken on my name, thick with fresh tears, raw with an unfamiliar desperation. I didn't know who else to call, sweetheart. I sat up suddenly, my heart jolting, instantly wide awake. What's wrong, Mom? Is someone hurt? Is it the house? The unspoken fear, always present, always lurking. A muffled sob, raw and wrenching, echoed down the line. We're going to lose the house, Kylie. We're going to lose our home. The next minutes blurred into a frantic, disjointed torrent as she explained, through hiccuping breaths and renewed sobs, about missed mortgage payments, about Dad's struggling architectural firm, about the official foreclosure notice that had arrived that very day. Words like 30 days and auction steps punctuated her despair, each one a hammer blow against my chest. How much? I asked, already opening my laptop, my fingers flying across the keyboard, navigating to my bank account. The screen glowed harshly in my dark bedroom, illuminating the precious savings I'd meticulously accumulated over 3 grueling years of relentless overtime and countless brown bag lunches. My sacred down payment fund for a modest Denver condo, a tangible piece of my future. $2,500, she whispered, her voice barely audible, just to stop the foreclosure process, honey. Charles swears the Brewster contract is coming through next month, he absolutely promises. She paused, then added, her voice now tinged with pleading, honey, I wouldn't ask, truly, but we have nowhere else to turn. My cursor hovered, agonizingly, over the transfer button. The stately colonial-style house on Maple Street. It had been their home for 30 years. My childhood bedroom, with its cozy window seat. The towering oak tree I had fallen from at 8 years old, breaking my arm in 2 places. The elegant dining room where we had gathered, without fail, every Sunday for pot roast and creamy mashed potatoes. All of it. Just this once, Mom promised, her voice laced with desperate sincerity. Your father is mortified that I even called you, sweetheart. We'll pay you back the minute his commission clears, you know we will. My finger trembled, then clicked the mouse. $2,500 vanished from my account, the numbers shifting downward like an elevator in freefall. Thank you, sweetheart. Oh, thank you. Mom cried, profound relief washing her voice clean of tears. We raised such a good girl, Kylie. Dad got on the phone briefly, his voice carrying the forced heartiness I recognized from countless childhood disappointments, promised trips to the zoo that never materialized, Christmas bikes that inexplicably never appeared under the tree. Won't happen again, Kylie Bear. Just a tough month, that's all. A blip. I stared at my account balance long after we hung up, the glowing screen a stark reminder of what I'd given up. The hollowness in my stomach had nothing to do with hunger. Just this once, I echoed silently. 3 weeks later, Mom called again. The bank made a mistake with the payment processing, darling. Her voice carried a different note now, less desperate, more expectant, as if it were a foregone conclusion. Just $1,200 this time, to clear things up. I transferred the money. A month passed. Your father's client is a bit late paying, honey, but the business will bounce back, you know it will. Another transfer. By the 6th month, I had stopped waiting for the explanations to change. I had stopped expecting repayment. I simply set up an automatic transfer of $1,500 monthly, directly to their mortgage company. It was easier, less emotionally taxing than enduring the increasingly frequent phone calls, the tearful gratitude, the empty, hollow promises. My email notification pinged on a Wednesday afternoon at work. Denver downtown condo development presale opportunity. I opened it during my lunch break, scrolling through vivid images of the exact starter home I'd been meticulously saving for, walking distance to work, perfectly within my carefully constructed price range, available with just 10% down. I checked my savings account. After 6 months of relentless transfers, I was precisely back where I had started 3 years ago. The condo units sold out in a dizzying 48 hours. That night, I deferred my MBA program acceptance for the 2nd time. Financial circumstances, I wrote curtly on the digital form, a lie that was also, in its own way, the profoundest truth. The university would hold my spot for 1 more year, they told me. After that, I would need to reapply, starting from scratch. I created a new spreadsheet, a stark, painful ledger, columns for dates, amounts, a running total that climbed steadily higher. A separate tab, ironically labeled Opportunities Declined, the dream condo, the MBA education, the trip to Spain for my college roommate's wedding, the life I was slowly giving away. My stomach clenched, a knot of resentment and despair, as the numbers relentlessly grew. 6 months became a year. A year became 2. On my lunch break, I microwaved cheap ramen noodles in the sterile office kitchen. My phone buzzed with an Instagram notification. Mom, beaming, at Morello's, the upscale Italian place downtown, a caption declaring, anniversary dinner. So blessed. Dad's brand new set of gleaming golf clubs leaned casually against their dining room wall in the background of another photo the following week, a casual display of their renewed prosperity. Can't make it this weekend, I texted my friends, who were planning a short, much-needed camping trip. Tight on cash this month, sorry. It was the 3rd such excuse this summer. They stopped asking eventually. The credit card application rejection arrived via email, terse and impersonal. Insufficient credit history and current income-to-debt ratio does not meet our requirements. The very same day, Sam posted photos of her condo closing. Homeowner at last. Adulting, her caption declared, accompanied by celebratory emojis. The comments section overflowed with lavish family congratulations, none of them recognizing the hidden cost. Your sister always had such a good head on her shoulders, Kylie, Mom told me at Easter dinner, her voice ringing with proud affection, while I sat quietly, calculating how many more months of payments it would take until I could finally restart my MBA fund. Financial independence is a true sign of maturity, you know. I nodded, swallowing both the bitter irony and the bland instant mashed potatoes. At the office holiday party, Jessica from accounting, her eyes kind and discerning behind tortoiseshell glasses, slid into the chair beside me. You okay, Kylie? You've been brown bagging it for months, barely touching the catering. Her voice held genuine concern, not pity, a distinction I instantly appreciated. Just saving, I said, the lie automatic, well-worn, and utterly convincing, even to myself. She studied me over her glass of cheap Chardonnay. For what exactly? Because you never actually seem to buy anything for yourself. Something in her direct, unblinking gaze broke through my practiced deflections, a crack in my carefully constructed facade. Over after-work coffee that somehow stretched into a long, late dinner, the story, raw and painful, finally spilled out. 4 years. $84,000. The endless, soul-crushing cycle of obligation. Jessica set down her mug with a decisive, resonant click against the table. Kylie, she said, her voice firm, you can't set yourself on fire to keep others warm. They're my parents, I whispered, the words familiar and ingrained, yet somehow lacking their usual conviction. And you're their daughter, she countered gently, not their bank. She pulled a napkin toward her, uncapped a pen. Let's do some math, shall we? We calculated the true, devastating cost, not just the dollars, but the compound interest lost, the career advancement delayed, the crucial retirement contributions missed. The final, staggering sum made my hands shake uncontrollably. They wouldn't understand, I whispered, tears pricking at my eyes. Maybe not, Jessica agreed, her gaze unwavering. But do you understand what you're giving up, Kylie? That night, I stared at my bank app, my thumb hovering, trembling, over the automatic transfer. 4 years. $84,000. My finger trembled, not yet ready to press cancel, yet for the very first time, I could vividly imagine doing so. Just this once, I thought, a desperate, rebellious whisper. I could skip just this once. See if they notice. See if they care. I pressed my thumb against the cool glass of my phone screen, closing my eyes. When I opened them, the transfer confirmation for 1 more month stared back at me, a testament to old habits and deep-seated fears. 1 more month of setting myself on fire. But something, irrevocably, had shifted. In the darkened reflection of my phone screen, I caught a glimpse of fierce determination in my own eyes, a spark that hadn't been there before. As I didn't sleep after this terrible dinner, the bank app glowed on my phone screen at 5:48 a.m. On Monday morning. I hadn't slept a wink. My thumb hovered, agonizingly, over the cancel automatic transfer button as the first fragile tendrils of sunlight began to peek through my apartment blinds, painting the room in pale gold. For 4 long, draining years, I had faithfully transferred between $1,200 and $2,400 each month to my parents' account, money that should have been building my future. The staggering total, $84,000. It represented a substantial down payment on a Denver condo when prices were still reasonable. It was the tuition for the MBA I kept deferring, the crucial contributions to a retirement fund that would have years of compound interest working for me. All of it sacrificed to pay a mortgage that wasn't mine, for a house I don't live in, owned by people who, just last night, had declared I wasn't even half the woman my sister was. My finger trembled, a battle waged within me, then pressed the button. Are you sure you want to cancel this recurring transfer? The screen asked, a simple question carrying monumental weight. Am I? I whispered to the empty room, a profound question of identity and self-worth. Then, with a surge of newfound resolve, I pressed confirm. My stomach lurched violently, as if I'd jumped from a towering diving board, but instead of plunging into water, I was falling, exhilaratingly, into freedom. The sensation was so overwhelming, so utterly disorienting, that I nearly reached for the trash can beside my bed. But beneath the raw nausea, something else, vibrant and undeniable, began to bloom, a relief so profound, so utterly soul-deep, that my body sagged against the headboard, exhausted but emancipated. For the very first time in 4 years, my next paycheck belonged entirely to me. The first call came before I had even finished my morning coffee. Dad's name flashed, bold and accusatory, on my screen. I let it go straight to voicemail, my heart pounding a defiant rhythm. Kaylee. His voice, when I finally listened, was an unholy blend of granite and gravel, infused with furious indignation. What you did last night was utterly inexcusable. We've supported you your entire life, and this is how you repay us. By abandoning your family when we need you most? Call me back immediately. I deleted the message without a second thought and blocked his number. By noon, Mom had left 4 increasingly tearful messages, her voice escalating from hurt to thinly veiled anger. By 3 p.m., after a particularly manipulative plea, I had blocked her number, too. Sam texted, her message tentative and confused. They say, you're punishing them. What's happening, Kylie? They won't stop calling me. I typed back, my fingers moving with a newfound certainty, ask them about the mortgage payments I've been making for 4 years. 3 dots appeared, disappeared, reappeared, then finally, her reply, oh, Kylie. I'm so sorry. I had no idea. The doorbell rang, a jarring sound, at 6:14 p.m. Through the peephole, distorted and fisheye, I saw my mother clutching a worn photo album to her chest, her eyes red-rimmed and pleading. I pressed my forehead against the cool, solid wood of the door, willing her, with every fiber of my being, to leave. Kylie, honey, I know you're in there. Her voice, laced with theatrical anguish, carried through the wood, muffled but audible. I brought pictures from when you were little. Remember how we were always there for you? Remember your first ballet recital when you fell and your father carried you off stage, so proud? What I remembered, with searing clarity, was working 3 soul-crushing jobs in college while Sam's tuition was paid in full. What I remembered was postponing grad school, not once but twice, to help with their temporary financial setback that had somehow managed to last 4 agonizing years. I did not open the door. By morning, my aunt in Phoenix had called to express her deep concern about your poor parents. My uncle in Michigan emailed a thinly veiled lecture about family responsibility. Cousins I hadn't spoken to in years suddenly felt the urgent need to check on me. The family mobilization was impressive in its coordination, a well-oiled machine of emotional pressure. They're good, Jessica said, a knowing smirk playing on her lips, over coffee at the shop across from our office. She was the first friend I'd confided in about the full, horrifying situation. I've got to hand it to them. They've got the flying monkeys out in full force. You know, from The Wizard of Oz? The Wicked Witch sends them to do her dirty work. She stirred her latte slowly, thoughtfully. It's a classic manipulation tactic. When the direct approach fails, you enlist others to apply pressure, to make you feel like the bad guy. I'd known Jessica for 3 years, but at this moment, she felt like the first person who had truly, unequivocally seen me. I made an appointment with a financial advisor, I told her, the words feeling weighty, significant. Tomorrow morning. She reached across the table, her hand warm and firm as she squeezed mine. I'm so incredibly proud of you, Kylie. The financial advisor's office smelled exactly as I imagined it would, expensive leather and faint lemon polish, a scent of serious, grown-up decisions. The next day, Martha, a woman with kind eyes and an efficient air, adjusted her elegant glasses as she reviewed my bank statements. $84,000 over 4 years, she repeated slowly, the number sounding even more absurd when spoken aloud by someone else. She set down her tablet, her gaze fixed on mine. And they never disclosed this to your sister or acknowledged it publicly? No, I confirmed, my voice a whisper. And you had no legal obligation whatsoever to pay their mortgage? No. Then what you've experienced, Kylie, she stated, her voice firm and unequivocal, is financial exploitation. Plain and simple. She leaned forward, her expression compassionate yet resolute. Family exploitation is still exploitation, Kylie. Don't let anyone tell you otherwise. Hearing someone in authority, an impartial expert, name it so directly sent a profound shiver down my spine. I had been exploited. Not helped. Not supported. My family had exploited me. The weight of that realization was staggering. Let's make a personal budget, Martha said gently, her voice shifting to a more practical tone, one that prioritizes your future, Kylie. When she showed me the projected future, a clear, tangible vision of where I could be in 5 years without the crushing drain of my parents' mortgage, tears sprang to my eyes. It was a future I hadn't dared to dream of, college funds for future children, retirement contributions that actually matched my company's generous offering, a down payment fund that grew steadily, predictably, instead of depleting monthly. This is what financial health looks like, Martha said, her voice soft but powerful. The next morning, I opened my first investment account with the $1,400 I would have transferred to my parents. The act felt like planting a flag on distant, previously unreachable territory. This money, irrevocably, was mine. This future was mine. That afternoon, I enrolled in the graduate course I had deferred for 7 consecutive semesters, a ghost of a dream finally coming to life. Welcome back, Miss Anderson, the admissions counselor said warmly. We've held your spot all this time. 3 weeks had passed since the family dinner. The calls from extended family members had finally begun to taper off, their initial fervor fading into a quiet, awkward silence. Sam texted occasionally, careful, neutral messages that skillfully skirted the raw edges of our family's new, fractured reality. My parents alternated between stony radio silence and escalating, increasingly desperate attempts at contact. I had rehearsed what I would say when I finally spoke to them. Jessica, with her unwavering support, had helped me craft the script, and I practiced it diligently in front of my bathroom mirror, steeling myself. I love you, I would say, my voice steady, but your mortgage is not my responsibility. Simple, direct, unassailable. The knock came on a quiet Sunday evening as I was reviewing case studies for my very first graduate class. No peephole check was necessary. I knew precisely who it was by the distinct cadence of the knock, 3 sharp, insistent raps, my father's signature. I opened the door to find both parents standing in the hallway, their faces a mixture of expectation and grievance. Mom's eyes were red-rimmed, puffy from recent tears. Dad's jaw was set in the rigid, unyielding line that always preceded childhood punishments. This has gone on long enough, Kylie, he announced, his voice clipped and cold, pushing past me into the apartment as if he owned the space. You've made your point, now it's over. My mother followed, her hand instinctively reaching for mine, a gesture of faux comfort. I stepped back, out of her reach. Your behavior is actively destroying this family, Dad continued, his voice rising, pacing my small living room like a caged tiger. Do you have any idea what people are saying about you? Your Aunt Margaret even asked if you were having some kind of breakdown, Kylie. Charles, Mom murmured, a soft caution in her voice, a flicker of warning. No, Elaine, she needs to hear this truth. He turned to face me, his eyes blazing with self-righteous anger. You've embarrassed us. You've created an utterly senseless family crisis over a little financial help that any decent daughter would provide without question or complaint. $84,000 is not a little help, Dad, I stated, my voice surprisingly steady, firm ground beneath my feet. You're killing me with this betrayal, Kylie. Mom whispered, fresh tears spilling down her cheeks, her voice thick with manufactured anguish. After everything we've done for you, how can you do this? The rehearsed script, the carefully crafted words, evaporated. In their place rose something raw and real, something utterly and irrevocably mine. I love you both, I said, my voice clear and strong. But your mortgage is not my responsibility. It never was. My father's face flushed a deep, angry crimson. So that's it, then? You're just abandoning us, your own parents? I'm not abandoning you, I corrected, my voice ringing with a newfound conviction. I'm stopping the abandonment of myself. The words hung in the air between us, undeniable in their truth, powerful and resonant. They left 7 minutes later, Mom still sobbing dramatically, Dad rigid with cold fury, his silence more chilling than his words. As the door closed behind them, clicking shut with a finality that echoed through the quiet apartment, my knees gave way. I slid to the floor, tears streaming down my face, my body shaking with deep, guttural sobs that felt ripped from somewhere primal and long buried. But beneath the profound grief, beneath the raw, aching pain, ran a powerful current of something unexpected, lightness. A profound, almost ethereal lightness, as if heavy stones had been lifted from my pockets after years of carrying their immense, crushing weight. That night, I slept 8 uninterrupted hours for the first time in 4 years, a deep, restorative slumber. When morning came, I stood at my window, watching the sun illuminate the city. Denver spread before me, familiar yet somehow entirely new, a vibrant landscape of possibility rather than a suffocating landscape of obligation. For the very first time since that late-night call 4 years ago, when my parents' desperation had become my crushing burden, I felt the true, authentic contours of my own life taking shape. I was not half of anyone. I was whole, complete, entirely myself. I wake up to sunlight streaming through curtains I actually chose, a luxurious, personal touch in my Seattle condo. 6 months ago, my morning ritual would have involved immediately checking my bank app, meticulously calculating how much I could afford for a simple coffee after the automatic transfer to my parents' account cleared. Today, I stretch luxuriantly, a deep, satisfying yawn escaping me, and smile broadly at the ceiling, under my rules, with my money. The promotion notification had appeared in my inbox yesterday afternoon, project team lead. The words still didn't quite feel real, a dream cautiously becoming tangible. Your dedication and analytical skills make you the perfect candidate, Kylie, my boss had said, actually looking me directly in the eye, a gesture of genuine respect. The whole department recognizes your contributions, and we're excited for your leadership. Recognition. The word settles in my chest like a warm, cherished stone. I pull on my running shoes, the soles still new and springy, and head out for my morning jog, nodding to Mrs. Winters, who is diligently walking her fluffy corgi, a routine I now relish. She waves enthusiastically, a broad, friendly smile on her face. Big day for your Italian cooking class, right? She calls out cheerfully. The final dinner. Lasagna from scratch, I hear. I'll bring you leftovers. I call back, my voice light, brimming with an easy joy. 6 months ago, I wouldn't have known my neighbor's name, let alone shared a friendly banter. I wouldn't have signed up for community center classes, wouldn't have had the disposable income for ingredients beyond ramen noodles and utilitarian peanut butter. My phone buzzes softly in my pocket. It's Jessica from work. The hiking group's meeting at Boulder Creek Saturday, she says when I answer, her voice full of anticipation. You in? Absolutely, I reply without hesitation, thinking of the sturdy new boots I bought myself last month, a practical investment in my newfound passion. The majestic Rockies, with their vastness and serene power, have become my sanctuary, the expansive landscapes putting my old family drama into perspective, shrinking it to a manageable size. Last weekend, I stood on a windswept summit and screamed into the vastness of the wind until my throat burned, and something deep inside me, a tightly wound knot of resentment, finally loosened and untangled. When I returned to my apartment, pleasantly tired and invigorated, there's an envelope in my mailbox, thick, official-looking, nestled amongst the junk mail. I open it, standing right there in the lobby, my heart hammering a nervous rhythm as I unfold the pristine letter. Dear Miss Anderson, it begins, the formal address somehow making it more real. We are pleased to inform you of your acceptance. I press the letter to my chest, my vision blurring with a sudden rush of emotion. It's the graduate program, the very one I deferred 4 years ago when that first desperate, soul-crushing call came from my parents. My phone rings again. It's my Aunt Gloria this time. Your father asked me to call you, she begins, her voice laced with an uncomfortable apology, caught in the middle. He says the doctor is worried about his blood pressure, the stress of possible foreclosure is just too much. The mortgage is current through next month, Aunt Gloria, I interrupt gently, having meticulously checked their account status online, maintaining my emotional distance. I'm genuinely sorry about his health concerns, but I can't help anymore with their payments. Aunt Gloria sighs, a sound of resigned defeat. He mentioned there might be some misunderstanding about family obligations, dear. No misunderstanding, I say firmly, my voice unwavering. I love you, Aunt Gloria. Please tell Dad I wish him well. I hang up and, with a sigh, check Facebook. Mom's latest post appears at the top of my feed, a carefully crafted piece of passive-aggressive martyrdom. Heartbroken when children abandon parents who sacrificed everything for them. Family should be forever. 17 sympathetic comments from relatives who, I know, don't know the full, complex story, flood the feed. I close the app without responding, without engaging, and turn to my email. Sam has sent a tentative message. They're saying some worrying things about money, Kylie. Are they really facing foreclosure? I'm so confused about what's happening, what's true. I type back, choosing my words carefully, yet with undeniable clarity, they have options they're unwilling to consider. I'm happy to explain everything if you want to hear my side, the complete truth. Before I can overthink it, before the old doubts can creep in, I send the email and head to the shower, the hot water a comforting balm. Work awaits, and today I'm leading the morning briefing on our new compliance system. My system, the one I designed, the one that now carries my name. The meeting room, usually a low hum of chatter, falls silent with an almost palpable reverence when I walk in. 6 months ago, I'd have instinctively assumed it was a dismissal, a signal of my unimportance. Today, I recognize it for what it truly is, respect. The implementation numbers are genuinely impressive, Kylie, says Thomas, our director, his voice ringing with genuine praise. Kylie's design has reduced processing time by an incredible 32%, exceeding all expectations. My colleagues applaud, not polite golf claps, but a burst of genuine, heartfelt appreciation. I stand straighter, a new confidence blooming within me, and begin my presentation with a poise and authority I would never have recognized in myself before. That afternoon, my desk phone rings with an unfamiliar number, an area code I don't recognize. Kylie Anderson, this is Marissa Johnson with Parker Executive Search. I'm calling about a director position in Seattle. I nearly drop the phone, my heart leaping into my throat. I'm sorry? I managed to stammer, barely believing my ears. Your name was specifically recommended by someone who was very impressed with your compliance system design, Miss Anderson. The position is with Westlake Financial Technologies. Would you be interested in discussing it further? My mouth goes dry. Seattle. The city on the coast, miles away from my past. It's a 45% salary increase from your current position, plus equity options. I scribble the number on a post-it note, promise to call back, and sit stunned at my desk, the words echoing in my mind. Seattle, 3 entire states away from the magnetic, often suffocating pull of familial obligation. A director position, leapfrogging 2 management levels in a single, audacious bound. That evening, I opened my laptop and requested a virtual tour of apartments in Seattle. The realtor showed me a stunning 14th floor unit with expansive, floor-to-ceiling windows. The iconic Space Needle gleamed in the distance, a futuristic beacon. "What's the price range?" I asked cautiously, still half expecting it to be out of reach. She names a figure that 6 months ago would have been utterly impossible, a fantastical sum. But now, with no mortgage payments draining my account, I pull up a spreadsheet and calculate quickly. 2 years of the offered Seattle salary would comfortably equal 4 years of what I'd paid toward my parents' mortgage, a stark and powerful contrast. The phone rings. It's Sam. "I talked to Dad," she says, her voice strained, barely above a whisper. "He admitted everything. 4 years of you paying their mortgage while they told me you were struggling and they were helping you." Her voice breaks, raw with shock and apology. "They took advantage of you, Kylie. I'm so sorry I didn't see it, didn't understand." Something shifts inside me, the last piece of a complex puzzle clicking into place, settling into a new, healthier equilibrium. "It's not your fault, Sam," I say, genuinely. "Are you really considering Seattle?" she asks, a note of desperation in her voice, a fear of losing me entirely. "Mom and Dad heard through the grapevine. They're furious you didn't tell them first." I laugh softly, a sound of genuine amusement. "Seattle feels incredibly right, Sam. I'm ready for something bigger than myself, bigger than all of this." That weekend, I began the meticulous process of packing my Denver apartment. Each item, each memento, went through a simple, yet profound test. Does this serve my future or anchor me irrevocably to the past? The pile for donation grew steadily larger than the pile to keep, a visual representation of my emotional decluttering. My phone pings with a text from the Seattle company. "The contract is ready for electronic signature, Miss Anderson. Benefits begin on day 1. Relocation assistance included." I look around my half-packed apartment, at the graduate program acceptance letter proudly displayed on my fridge, at the new hiking boots waiting by the door. For the first time in my entire adult life, everything I own, everything around me, represents choices I made for myself. I signed the contract. A month after signing the contract, a new life unfurling before me, I stand at the panoramic window of my Seattle condo, watching the soft dawn paint Mount Rainier in ethereal hues of amber and rose. 14 floors above the bustling city, I have not just found a place to live, I have built a life where I matter. Where my voice carries weight, where my contributions are seen and valued. My phone buzzes softly on the sleek granite countertop. Another text from Mom, a familiar lament about how they're managing without my crucial financial support. I ignore it, calmly sipping coffee that costs more than I would have ever allowed myself to spend in Denver. Small luxuries no longer trigger a searing wave of guilt. They are simply choices, moments of self-care. The second buzz isn't from my parents. It's Grace, my former neighbor in Denver. "Thought you should see this. So sorry, Kylie." I tap the attachment. The image loads slowly, agonizingly, pixel by pixel, as if my phone itself is trying to protect me from its contents. A vinyl banner, enormous and garish, stretches across the Tudor-style facade of my parents' house. Bold, aggressive red letters against a stark white background scream, "Congratulations, Sam, for saving the family home." My coffee cup hits the gleaming hardwood floor with a sharp, sickening crash. Hot liquid splashes my bare feet, but I barely register the burn. My lungs compress, as if squeezed by invisible, malevolent hands, stealing my breath. For years, I whisper to the empty, echoing room, my voice raw with disbelief. $84,000. I sink to the floor, ceramic shards pressing into my palms, grounding me. Not from weakness this time, but from a rage so pure, so searing, it demands anchoring to the physical world. They've erased me again. But worse, far worse, they've shamelessly rewritten history entirely. When my breathing finally steadies, a slow, deliberate rhythm of fury, I retrieve my laptop and open my banking app. 4 years of meticulously itemized statements. 4 years of transfer confirmations. Texts from mom, an endless litany of variations on just this once and we'll pay you back soon, sweetheart. I find the email folder labeled family and, with a grim determination, extract every desperate plea, every fabricated crisis, dad's business failures, mom's mysterious medical bills that insurance inexplicably rejected, the perpetually leaking roof, the perpetually clogged plumbing, the property taxes they conveniently forgot were due. The printer hums to life, a low, steady drone, as I create a meticulously documented paper trail of their long-running deception. While it works, spitting out page after incriminating page, I forward each piece of digital evidence to my personal email, then, as a layer of added security, to a separate account I've created solely for this purpose. Digital receipts of years of calculated manipulation, undeniable and damning. My phone rings. Sam's name flashes on the screen. "Have you seen it?" she asks without preamble, her voice tight with disbelief and shame. "The banner?" "Yes, Sam," I reply, my voice flat, devoid of emotion. "I swear, Kylie, I had absolutely nothing to do with this. They told everyone at church, everyone in their social circle, that I've been making their mortgage payments ever since you abandoned them." I laugh, a hollow, bitter sound that bounces off the walls of my expensive, empty condo. "Of course they did, Sam. What else would they do?" There's more," Sam continues, her voice dropping to a conspiratorial whisper, fraught with dread. "They're hosting a family appreciation dinner next weekend to honor my sacrifice. The formal invitation arrived in my email that afternoon, cream-colored electronic stationery, adorned with an elegant, flowing script. "Join us in celebrating Samantha's selfless dedication to family values." Mom's voicemail followed, a sugary sweet overlay to her usual manipulation. "We hope you can set aside our differences to celebrate your sister, Kylie. Family should support each other in times of recognition. Family should support each other in times of recognition." The repetition, a desperate attempt at reinforcement, only fueled my resolve. I trace my finger over the date, next Saturday. I could book a flight. I should book a flight. I dial Jessica, my former coworker, the one who first helped me see the insidious patterns of their behavior. "They're crediting Sam with paying their mortgage," I tell her, my voice surprisingly steady, considering the raw fury churning inside me. "They're throwing her a party for something I did, for 4 agonizing years." Jessica's silence speaks volumes, a compassionate pause, before she responds, her voice gentle but firm. "What are you going to do, Kylie?" "I'm going to Denver to confront them," I declare, my voice rising with a new strength. Then, correcting myself, my fingers flying across my laptop keyboard, "No. I'm going to Denver to tell the truth. All of it." Saturday evening, I stand on the familiar porch of my parents' house, the very threshold I had crossed countless times with a sense of dread and obligation. Inside, the muffled murmur of voices mingles with the strains of classical music. Dad's carefully curated playlist of impressiveness, designed to exude an air of sophisticated success. I'm wearing a tailored charcoal suit that cost more than I would have spent on 3 months of clothes in my old life, a formidable power armor against their deception. The weighty folder tucked under my arm contains every single record, printed in duplicate, undeniable proof. My laptop bag holds a flash drive with a presentation I've prepared with meticulous, unforgiving detail. Sam opens the door before I even have a chance to knock, her eyes wide with surprise, a flicker of apprehension. "You came," she whispers, a mixture of relief and fear in her voice. "Did you think I wouldn't?" I counter, my gaze unwavering. She steps aside, revealing the living room transformed for the occasion. Lush floral arrangements, flowers I know they can ill afford, adorn every surface. Catering from the most expensive place downtown is spread across a buffet table. A large projector screen displays a saccharine slideshow titled The Anderson Family Legacy of Support. My mother spots me first, her head snapping up from a conversation with Aunt Martha. Her champagne glass halts midway to her lips, frozen in midair. "Kylie, what a surprise!" Her voice carries that artificial brightness, that forced cheerfulness reserved for deeply uncomfortable public situations. "We weren't sure if you'd make it with your busy new life in Seattle." Dad turns, his practiced, charming smile faltering, then collapsing entirely when he sees the unyielding expression on my face. "Pumpkin, come in." "Come in," he blusters, attempting to regain control. "We're just about to toast your sister's incredible generosity, her selfless dedication." The room falls quiet, a tense, expectant hush descending as I walk deliberately toward the projector screen, my footsteps echoing in the sudden silence. I set down my heavy folder on the side table, the thud resonating with a quiet authority. "May I add something to the presentation?" I ask, my voice carrying across the silent, expectant room, each word carefully articulated. Dad hesitates, a flicker of suspicion in his eyes, then nods with the misplaced confidence of someone who still believes they entirely control the narrative. Of course, Kylie. Our younger daughter wants to honor her sister, too." "How wonderful, how very touching." I connect my laptop to the projector cable, replacing their mawkish slideshow with my own, a brutal unveiling of truth. The title slide, stark and unforgiving, appears, 48 months, $84,000. "Kylie, what is this?" Mom asks, her voice sharp, tinged with a rising panic. "The truth," I answered simply, my gaze sweeping across the stunned faces in the room. The first slide displays a meticulously organized spreadsheet. Dates, precise amounts, account numbers partially redacted for privacy. Transaction descriptions that tell their own damning story: emergency transfer to parents, mortgage payment, property tax payment, insurance premium. "I don't think this is appropriate dinner conversation, Kylie," Mom interjects, her voice shrill, attempting to physically move toward the projector, to cut me off. "Neither is lying to your entire social circle, Mom," I counter, my voice unwavering, clicking to the next slide before she can reach me. Text messages appear, enlarged for everyone to see, projected against the screen. "Mom, Kylie, we're desperate. Just this once. The bank is threatening foreclosure. Mom, your father's business will recover soon. Just help us through this month. Mom, family comes first, always. We do the same for you." The pattern of manipulation, laid bare. Murmurs ripple through the gathered guests, a rising tide of disbelief and discomfort. Aunt Martha's hand flies to cover her mouth, her eyes wide with shock. Uncle Pete shifts uncomfortably in his seat, his gaze avoiding mine. "You're publicly humiliating us, Kylie." Dad hisses, his face flushed a violent crimson, his voice barely controlled. I meet his gaze steadily, unflinchingly. "If the truth embarrasses you, Dad, that is not my fault." The next slide contrasts Dad's business expense reports with their personal credit card statements, golf club memberships, lavish weekend getaways, restaurant bills exceeding what I spent on groceries in an entire month. "Stop this immediately, Kylie," Mom demands, her voice cracking, pleading now. But I continue, slide by agonizing slide, systematically building the incontrovertible case that I had, for years, secretly subsidized their comfortable lifestyle while they proudly showcased Sam as the wildly successful, favored daughter and utterly dismissed my quiet, profound contributions. Sam stands frozen, utterly still, horror dawning slowly on her face as she comprehends the true scale of the deception. Not just against me, but against her, too. Used as their unwitting golden child, while I was used as their ever-reliable ATM. When the final slide appears, the infamous banner photo with the stark, unvarnished truth superimposed across it, the room has fallen into a stunned, absolute silence. $84,000, I say quietly, my voice ringing with an undeniable finality. My down payment, my MBA, my future. all of it. Aunt Judith, Dad's eldest sister, a woman of formidable presence, rises slowly from her seat by the fireplace. For a moment, a terrifying, heart-stopping moment, I think she will defend them. She always has. Instead, she begins to applaud. Slow, deliberate claps that echo, resonant and powerful, in the profound silence. "It's about time someone told the truth in this family," she says, her voice carrying the accumulated weight of decades of unspoken grievances, of hidden resentments. Two of my cousins nod, a flicker of recognition in their eyes, an acknowledgement of long understood, unaddressed family patterns, now finally exposed for all to see. Mom attempts one last, desperate deflection, her voice weak now. "Family matters should stay private, Kylie. This is completely inappropriate, so disrespectful." "Private?" I ask, my voice laced with bitter irony, "like the banner on your house, Mom?" Sam moves then, a decisive step, crossing the room to stand directly beside me. She doesn't speak, doesn't need to. Her silent, steadfast presence next to me says everything. For the very first time in our lives, my sister and I face our parents as a united front, the golden child and the invisible one, standing together in the undeniable light of truth. And in that powerful, transformative moment, I feel the last, lingering chains of obligation finally break free. 6 months after the confrontation, the soft Seattle morning light streams through my floor-to-ceiling windows, illuminating my face as I stir golden honey into my fragrant herbal tea. Sam sits across from me at a sun-drenched corner cafe, her usual lawyer posture relaxed for once, her perfectly highlighted hair pulled back in a simple, effortless ponytail instead of its usual immaculate blowout. "I still can't believe they showed up here in Seattle with papers to add your name to the deed of their house," Sam says, shaking her head in a mixture of disbelief and resignation. "After everything you exposed, everything they put you through." I smile softly, watching the ferryboats glide across the glittering expanse of Elliott Bay, a picture of tranquil freedom. Their version of an apology, I suppose, a last-ditch attempt at control. "And you turned it down," Sam states, not a question, but a statement of deep respect, a recognition of my new, unshakable boundaries. "I already own my own home," I tell her, gesturing subtly toward the gleaming high-rise visible from our window, a silent testament to my independence. "What I truly need from them is respect, Sam, not a name on paper, not a gilded cage." 6 months since the truth, raw and unvarnished, shattered our family's fragile foundation. 6 months of meticulous rebuilding, not what was, but something new, something honest, something profoundly healing. My phone buzzes softly with an industry newsletter notification. Anderson Team wins Innovation Award for Compliance Solution. My team, my leadership, my name. Sam notices my smile, a genuine warmth spreading across my face. "Another win, Kylie?" I show her the screen, the bold headline. "Vice President sounds pretty good before my name, doesn't it?" I say, a playful edge to my voice, better than mortgage payer in secret, that's for sure. She reaches across the table, her hand warm and firm as she squeezes mine. "You're speaking at that big finance conference next month, right? On the ethical leadership panel?" I laugh, a full, resonant sound, at the exquisite irony. Apparently, successfully standing up to financial exploitation qualifies me as an expert in ethical leadership. Who knew? Later that evening, I lace up my hiking boots, the leather supple and well-worn now, as 3 friends wait patiently by the door. There are no elaborate excuses about tight budgets, no anxious calculations about whether I can afford gas or gear. Just 4 women heading to Mount Rainier because the wildflowers are blooming, a simple, unadulterated joy. "Rachel asked about you again," Tina says conspiratorially as we drive, wiggling her eyebrows suggestively. "The architect." She seemed rather keen. Heat crawls up my neck, a pleasant warmth that has nothing to do with embarrassment and everything to do with exhilarating possibility. Dating without the suffocating weight of financial anxiety feels like breathing new, clean air for the very first time. On Tuesday, I stand before 20 young women at the community center's financial literacy workshop, my voice steady, infused with a conviction earned through fire. Boundaries aren't selfish, I tell them, meeting each gaze directly. They're the fundamental foundation of authentic, healthy relationships. A thoughtful girl in the back row, her brow furrowed, asks, but what if it's family? What if it's your own parents? Especially then, I answer, my voice resonating with hard-won wisdom, meeting her eyes directly. Especially then, boundaries are essential. When Sam returns in August for another visit, we cook pasta in my sun-drenched Seattle kitchen, rich tomato sauce bubbling gently on the stove as Frank Sinatra croons softly from the speaker. Mom would have hovered, critiquing our technique, judging our every move. Tonight, there's only easy laughter as Sam clumsily spills a little red wine on my pristine countertop, a small, shared moment of imperfection. Remember when Mom would painstakingly measure the pasta portions? Sam asks, twirling a long strand of spaghetti onto her fork, a nostalgic smile playing on her lips. Exactly 2 ounces for you, 3 for Dad, and a single ounce for me, because actresses need to stay slim, she'd say. And now look at us. I gesture expansively to our heaping plates, piled high with delicious, carby goodness. Rebels with carbs, my dear sister. We talk late into the night, sharing stories and reflections about childhood patterns we never questioned, about adult choices we're now consciously making differently, forging our own paths. I've been seriously thinking about taking a real vacation, Sam says, a wistful look in her eyes. Not a networking opportunity disguised as relaxation. Just pure, unadulterated joy. For me. Where would you go? I ask, intrigued. She corrects softly, her gaze warm and inviting. Where would we go, Kylie? Sisters only. Ah. My throat tightens unexpectedly, a surge of profound emotion. A new, beautiful future, not just for me, but for us. A year later, I open a new account, seed money for my future niece's education, not from obligation, but from a place of genuine, loving choice. At the community center, my financial boundaries workshop has doubled in size, overflowing with eager participants. Setting limits isn't about rejecting others, I explain to the attentive group, my voice clear and confident. It's about honoring yourself enough to bring your whole, healthy, authentic self to your relationships. In my journal, I write year 1 of my authentic life at the top of a fresh, clean page. Below it, not a list of accomplishments or ambitious goals, but a collection of profound, hard-won truths, that worth isn't measured in sacrifice. That love without respect is merely a disguised form of being used. That starting over at 30 isn't a failure, it is, in fact, the most profound act of courage imaginable. Evening finds me on my spacious balcony, watching the sunset paint the majestic Olympic mountains in breathtaking hues of gold, then regal purple, then ethereal blue. There's no phone buzzing with manufactured financial emergencies. No frantic mental calculations of what remains in my account after another automatic transfer. Just this quiet, perfect moment. Just me. Finally, truly home, in my own life, on my own terms.